The mystery of the old library. It was a cold October evening, just a few days before Halloween. The small town of Maplewood was quiet, with most people at home, keeping warm. Leaves covered the streets, making a crunching sound as people walked. In the middle of the town was an old library, one that many people had forgotten about. The library had been closed for years. It was big, with tall windows and a large wooden door. Some people said the library was haunted, but no one really knew why. Every Halloween, strange things were said to happen around the old building, but no one dared to go near it. That was until this year, when three friends, Alex, Mia, and James, decided to explore the library. Alex, Mia, and James were all in their early 20s and had been friends since childhood. They loved adventures and solving mysteries. "This year, let's do something exciting for Halloween," Alex said as they sat at the local cafe one afternoon. "Why don't we explore the old library?" Mia looked nervous. "Are you serious? People say it's haunted." James laughed. "Come on, Mia. It's just an old building. What's the worst that could happen?" Mia wasn't convinced, but she didn't want to be left out. "Okay, fine," she said. "But if anything creepy happens, I'm leaving." The plan was set. They would meet at 8 p.m., when it was dark. Alex brought a flashlight, James had a map of the library from an old book, and Mia, though scared, brought a small camera to record their adventure. At 8 p.m. sharp, the three friends stood in front of the library. The large wooden door was closed, but it wasn't locked. Alex pushed it, and it opened with a long, loud creak. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Mia asked, her voice shaking a little. James grinned. "It's too late to turn back now." They stepped inside. The library was cold and smelled of dust and old books. The only light came from Alex's flashlight, which cut through the darkness. Shelves filled with books stood tall on both sides of the room, and the ceiling was high above them. "It's huge," Alex whispered. "How long do you think it's been closed?" "About 20 years, I think," James replied, looking at the map. "No one's really used it since then. Some people say the last librarian disappeared mysteriously." Mia shivered, not because of the cold, but because of the story. "Do you think we'll see her ghost?" she asked, half joking. James shrugged. "Who knows? But let's check out the back room. According to this map, it's where the rare books were kept." The friends walked deeper into the library. The floor creaked beneath their feet, and the wind whistled through the broken windows. Mia stayed close to Alex and James, holding her camera tightly. As they walked, they heard a strange noise. It was faint at first, like someone whispering. "Did you hear that?" Mia whispered. Alex stopped and listened. "It's probably just the wind," he said, but even he didn't sound sure. They continued walking, but the sound came again, louder this time. It was like a voice, but they couldn't understand the words. It seemed to come from the back of the library. James looked at the map. The rare books room is just ahead. Let's check it out. When they reached the door to the back room, they stopped. The door was slightly open, and a soft light was coming from inside. But there was no electricity in the library, so where was the light coming from? Who's in there? Alex whispered, moving closer to the door. Mia felt her heart race. I don't like this, she said, stepping back. But James pushed the door open, and they all looked inside. The room was empty, except for a single candle burning on a table in the center. The shelves were full of old, dusty books, and the air smelled like wax. No one was in the room, but it felt like someone had been there just a moment ago. Who lit the candle? Mia asked, her voice shaking. Alex walked over to the table and looked at the candle. It was almost new, still tall, with only a little wax melted at the top. It was lit recently, he said. But who's been in here? James picked up one of the books from the shelf. It was an old, leather-bound book, with a strange symbol on the cover. What's this? He asked, flipping through the pages. The pages were yellowed with age, and the writing was hard to read. It looks like some kind of journal, James said, squinting at the words. Mia looked over his shoulder. A journal? Whose is it? James read aloud, October 30th, 1983. It has been a week since I first saw her. The woman in the long black dress. She moves between the shelves when no one is looking. She watches me, but when I turn, she disappears. I fear I may be losing my mind. Mia gasped. That sounds like the old librarian. Alex frowned. The one who disappeared. James nodded. It must be. This is her journal. He continued reading, I know I'm not imagining it. There's something here, something in the library. I hear her at night, whispering my name. Tomorrow is Halloween, and I fear what may happen. Mia's hands trembled. That's tomorrow, she whispered. Do you think she's still here? Before anyone could answer, they heard the whispering again. This time, it was close. Too close. They all froze. The whispering grew louder, and the candle flickered. A cold wind blew through the room, even though the windows were closed. The light from the candle dimmed, and the room grew darker. We need to leave, Mia said, backing toward the door. But before they could move, the door slammed shut. The friends jumped, fear filling their faces. Alex rushed to the door and tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. We're trapped, he said. The whispering stopped, and the room became silent. But the silence was even scarier than the sound. It was the kind of silence that made you feel like something was about to happen. Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped. It was freezing now, and the friends could see their breath in the air. Mia huddled close to James. What's happening? She whispered. Then, from the shadows, they saw her. A figure dressed in black, with long dark hair, appeared between the shelves. Her face was pale, and her eyes were cold. She floated toward them, her feet not touching the ground. "It's her," James whispered, his voice barely audible. The ghostly figure moved closer, her eyes fixed on them. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. Instead, she pointed to the journal on the table. James, still shaking, picked up the journal again. He flipped to the last page, and there, in large, messy letters, were the words, "Free me." "She wants us to free her," James said, his voice shaking. "But how?" The ghost pointed again, this time to the candle. The flame flickered wildly, as if the wind was trying to blow it out. Mia, too scared to think, whispered, "Blow out the candle." Alex looked at her. "What? Why? Just do it." Mia cried. "Maybe that's how we free her." Alex took a deep breath and stepped toward the candle. The ghost hovered close by, watching him. He closed his eyes and blew out the candle. For a moment, nothing happened. The room was completely dark, and the air was still. Then, slowly, the temperature began to rise. The cold left the room, and the whispering stopped. When Alex opened his eyes, the ghost was gone. The door to the room creaked open slowly, as if someone had gently pushed it. Light from the hallway spilled in, breaking the darkness. The three friends stood frozen for a moment, not sure what had just happened. "She's gone," Mia whispered, her voice filled with relief. James took a deep breath and nodded. "I think we did it. We freed her." Alex wiped his forehead, which was damp with sweat. "That was close," he said, his voice shaky. "Let's get out of here." Without another word, the three hurried out of the room, their footsteps quick and quiet. They moved through the library's main hall, no longer interested in exploring. All they wanted was to get outside and leave the spooky old building behind. When they reached the large wooden door, Alex pushed it open. The cool night air hit their faces, and they all felt a sense of relief. They stepped out into the street, where the town of Maplewood seemed calm and peaceful, as if nothing had happened. Mia looked back at the old library. It stood tall and dark, but somehow it didn't seem as scary anymore. "Do you think she's really gone?" Mia asked. James nodded. "I think so. We helped her find peace." Alex, still holding the journal, looked down at it. "What should we do with this?" Mia shrugged. "Maybe we should return it to the library. Leave it here where it belongs." James agreed. "Yeah, let's leave it. This is where her story ends." Alex walked over to the front steps of the library and placed the journal down carefully. He gave the old building one last look before stepping back. "Well," Alex said with a small smile, "this was definitely a Halloween adventure to remember." Mia laughed nervously. "I don't think I need any more adventures like this." James grinned. "Come on, Mia, You did great. You faced your fears. Mia smiled back. Yeah, I guess I did. The three friends started walking back toward town, the sounds of Halloween night filling the air. The adventure was over, and they were ready to go home. But as they walked away from the library, a soft wind blew through the trees. And from the shadows, the faint sound of whispering drifted out. It was so quiet that they didn't even notice. The old library stood silently behind them, waiting for the next group of curious adventurers to uncover its secrets.